Winning in today's market takes the right moves. Welcome to Elevate Your Business from Elevate Coaching at Guild Mortgage. In this episode, a top producer proves success is built on the fundamentals: show up, stay visible, and do the work every day. Let's get into it.
Today's guest is Casey Oiness. He's a branch manager and top producer at our Bellevue branch here at Guild Mortgage. Right now, we are beginning July, and his branch is number one in volume with $297 million, and his personal production team is at $81 million, leading our country. But today's conversation just isn't about impressive numbers. It's about something very successful professionals eventually face. Success can quietly pull us away from the habits that build our business. Casey experienced this firsthand. Today, we'll talk about how he recognized it, returned to his fundamentals, and rebuilt momentum. We'll also dive into systems and disciplines and leadership principles that continue to fuel his success, and why the basics still win. Every great business starts somewhere. So how did you get into the business?
I was in wealth management before I got into mortgage, and I thought I could do some loans on the side. I bought a condo, and my loan officer, who I bought my condo with, kind of told me a little bit about the business, and I kind of got a little excited about it. So interviewed, and ended up getting a position with a top producing loan officer, who I learned the business under for about a year and a half or so. And then when I was working with him, I did what we called loan reviews. And so he did a great job. He consistently did about 100 million, and he consistently just worked his past clients and stayed in touch with them. Did at least an annual loan review, but sometimes we even do a semi-annual loan review. So I still do this a little bit in my business now, and it's probably results in, I don't know, 20% or more of our business, focusing on our past clients and reaching out to them and checking in whether it makes sense for them to do something or doesn't make sense for them to do something.
So when you were working for him, did he teach you how to do the reviews? Did he have you set up appointments? What was your role?
So I would go back about 5 years back for every month. So let's say the month of July right now, I'd go back and look at all his closings in the month of July 5 years back. And we do a quick little, we called it whatever the family name was, Oiness Family Loan Review. I do a quick little review of their mortgage. I'd look at, what's the value look like of their home now? Have they built any equity? Do they have PMI? Is there abilities to go from FHA to conventional and reduce the MI? Could we do an upfront premium to help save them some money? And then I just do a short little 3 to 4, 5 sentence email saying, hey, Casey, we just finished your annual loan review. Want to let you know that, you're in a great rate and it doesn't make sense for you to do anything. But if you have any needs for debt consolidation or have any general questions regarding your mortgage, we'd love to set up a call with Jeff. Or if we saw those opportunities to save some money, we just leave it pretty short and sweet and say, hey, Paula, it looks like, your current rate is a little high. We might be able to help you reduce your mortgage insurance and save you a couple $100. Is this something you'd be interested in discussing in more detail with us? If so, we'd love to set up a call. And, anybody who could save some money, I'd say 70% of them would reply and say, I'd love to jump on a call. The thing that we found that worked that was a side benefit of was often those loan reviews would then be forwarded to another friend of theirs, and that client would reply with a new intro and say, hey, you helped the Smiths with their home purchase a few years ago. We're interested in buying now. Can we jump on a call with you? And so those loan reviews just kept us in front of our database and gave us the opportunity to meet new clients through them from our past clients. So that was a big piece of it.
By working besides, a top producer, what did he teach you that still impacts you today?
I think being consistent in some of the principles that you decide to do in your business. So like if it's, Monday calls to your agent partners, staying consistent with that. If it's Tuesday status updates to the listing agents and staying really consistent with that. He was just super, super consistent with executing those loan reviews, and clients expected it. The agent partners expected it. We'd even update the agents, letting them know, hey, we just did a little loan review for them. If we found out anything, like maybe they're looking to sell or some change in their family circumstance, we could update the agent partners as well. So it just gave us a easy opportunity to engage with the clients and the agents and bring value, and then bringing that value back to the agent partners.
Like what I love hearing about what you just said is, like when you begin, basically we're always like trying to go get the next deal, right? Because you don't have a database to really do that with, but you got to see what that looked like later on. So you probably implemented that way early in your business, besides having the background in that area.
I mean, when I first got in the business and I started having my own pipeline, I was doing these loan reviews every 6 months because I'd only had 20 past clients to work off of, right? So, and the amount of times that we got to transact with them and go deep with them. And I still have some of those clients today that from those early on years that, uh, we have a really, really strong relationship with. So, it's pretty cool.
Okay, so you're working with him, you're doing great, you're learning a lot of things, and then how do you end up coming to Guild?
So I was there for about 4 years. The company I was with got acquired, and I stayed there for exactly a year and tried to give it a shot, and it just wasn't what I kind of expected it to be. And so I started kind of looking around, and a good friend of mine who had been here at Guild had always bounced around into various companies, and he finally came to Guild. And so um, and I actually knew Barry Horn back from my wealth management days. And so hearing that Barry was at Guild, and I got reconnected with him, and then just did a deep dive into who Guild was, and had always heard good things about him. I think sometimes, at least at the company that I was at, there was probably a little bit of like fear-based selling, like all the other companies are bad companies, and then coming out and meeting Barry and the whole Guild community, um, I found that there was a lot of great top producers. The coaching program that I was a part of had a lot of people like Shayla in there, and I got an opportunity to chat with Shayla, and she told me about her experience at Guild. And so after meeting a bunch of like top producers at Guild, I was like, this has got to be the place for me. So I just wanted to surround myself with some of the best.
When you got here and you started building your business, and you've built an extraordinary business here at Guild, what was the turning point where you saw that this is just not originating loans? I'm actually building a business.
I think fairly early on, my regional manager Charles really gave me the platform, I feel like, to build what I wanted to build. And sometimes I feel like loan officers get stuck in this pattern of, you know, 5 loans, 1 loan, 5 loans, 1 loan, right? And I was kind of hovering in the, I don't know, 10 loan arena, and I had a couple team members, and maybe I was getting to 15. But I feel like sometimes you need to put those stairs in front of you so that you can take that next step up in your business. And Charles really helped me with giving me the opportunity to say, hey, if you want to bring these team members on, I'm going to give you the opportunity to do that. But if you don't perform in the next 90 days, we're going to have to make some changes, right? And so that was motivation to me to also like, okay, I'm bringing these extra people on our team. Um, my rule is like 5 loans for everybody on the team. And so I had already 3 people or 2 people, and we went to 5. So we really needed to get up to 20 to 30 loans a month. And so quickly we did that, which was really exciting. And I just feel like Guild gave me the platform to do that. And then over the years, obviously our technology and everything has really like helped elevate the business and helped almost become a team member in itself with Salesforce and everything that we've got from a tech standpoint. So,
As you were growing, and a lot of loan officers, just like you were saying, you kind of get stuck here, maybe at 5 or 7 loans, and you want to grow. But I think what I've seen also in coaching is like a challenge of letting some things go so you can grow. So what did you have to let go of in your business to be able to grow your business?
somebody told me this a long time ago that if somebody on your team can do the job 80% as good as you, most of the clients don't really know the difference. And so the biggest thing for me was really getting out of my email and spending more time on like green time. And so I currently like have my calendar set up so that I take care of more of the administrative stuff, branch stuff, kind of the red time early in the morning. And by 11 o'clock, I really want to pivot to green. And so green for me is lunches, client consultations, lead calls, pre-approval meetings, my prospecting on a daily basis. And from 11 to 5 is I really want to stay in that zone. Obviously, you get pulled into things that occasionally, but I think following a really um, like detailed calendar and sticking to that is really helped me can stay consistent in there. And so I was actually just talking to one of my loan officers yesterday. She's like, I keep on getting pulled into like I have these projects I want to do, and I'm not getting them accomplished. And I was like, well, when do you feel like you're most effective? And she's like, 10 to 2. I was like, all right, well, 10 to 2 is your green time then. So everybody has a different type of green time for me. Like I want to like pivot in the afternoon because we got a little bit more energy. Um, I actually feel like I do really, really well early, but no, I can't make phone calls at 7:30, 8:30 in the morning because the agents aren't really like up and moving and shaking, right? So I will sometimes do some early morning coffees at 7:30 to 8:32, just to start the day off with a break bread. So
I love what you just said. And I think everybody should, when you're listening to this, hear that is when is your energy the highest, right? Because that's when you're going to feel the most confidence, definitely when you're starting to make your calls, right? And doing your prospecting. So our title was The Biggest Mistake Every Producer Makes. When you hear that title, what comes to mind for you, Casey?
for me, my biggest mistake was kind of like getting away from like the money in a way, or like forgetting about like what got me here. And so I think we can all relate to, not maybe everybody, but we can relate to the COVID days. I like to refer to them as the fake years. So 2020, 2021, we were doing insane amount of business and it wasn't real, right? And so for me, that's what kind of got me away from the business was um, not doing the stuff that got me here, right? Like staying consistent with my meetings, staying consistent with my relationships that I had. So we were here in Seattle. We were pretty remote for a while, honestly. I mean, we were still coming to the office, but it was hard. It was like lockdown central, probably one of the most locked down cities in America. And so it was hard to get in front of some of those people. And so I think our habits started to die. And so I had to come back to really spending more time with my clients and my agent partners and bringing value to them instead of just servicing the incoming calls that were coming in. And so there was so many incoming calls coming in those 2 years that you kind of shifted away from the outbound, the prospecting, the acquisition mode of taking care of your business. And I think in mortgage, you constantly have to be in acquisition mode, but also in retention mode. And so retention mode is retaining the existing clients and agent partners and referral partners that you have but you also got to still go acquire new ones every month and every week really. So
I agree. COVID was, especially in the Northwest, very challenging. I mean, we were same thing down in our area. We were locked down, and it was an excuse for people not to have to meet, right? And then your phone was ringing off the hook. And I remember after COVID, you and I playing golf up there with Barry and Charles and us having this conversation. I remember you saying, Paula, do you think we could just get one more year like that? And I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. I think we're done.
yeah, yeah. Which is probably good because honestly, that just ruined a lot of people. And I think so many times I'm talking to loan officers and coaching loan officers, and they refer to those years, and I think you got to just almost forget that even happened.
And that's why, like with us here at Guild, we were challenged with that. So how do we get people back out and be visible and do those basic fundamentals? And so we were, I mean, I even laugh because we created that 5-3-2 game plan, and it was just 5 1-hour calls and 3 face-to-face appointments. And even to this day, when I talk to students and I'm like, did you have 3 face-to-face appointments? And it's
Right.
shocking that it's no, because I built it so that it was like doable, but still that can be undoable for some people, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Let's talk about, you start realizing you're shifting. There was a turning point. Where did the breakthrough happen?
So I was probably coming out, I think it was 2023, and I was at a coaching seminar, and uh, I've been doing the business, and that we had a good business, and it's like historically my business had always gone up roughly 20% year over year over year, and so we'd really never had a down year. And I think that's what I was saying, like referring to, is like after 2021, I thought it would just continue along. Like I don't know why I thought that, but I just thought we had built something that would be able to be sustainable. Well, 2022 happened. It was still a good year. Then 2023 happened. And I was actually in the process of building a house, which was not a great year to be building a house coming out of a bad year. And I think the stress of that plus the business being coming down dramatically, having to make some tough decisions in terms of employees, team members. Um, I think I had a little bit of a meltdown. I remember I was like walking down the hallway of this event, and I just all of a sudden like started crying, and I don't know why, but I think it just overwhelmed me, like to the fact that um, I didn't know if I could get it back to what the level that it was before. And so at that event, I just realized I was like, I got to get back to the basics, and I got to start doing the things that got me here, which was meeting people face to face, meeting my clients face to face, and talking to a bunch of people. So my goal is minimum 20 face to faces a week and 75 conversations a week. And if I get those two things done, I know that the leads and the referrals will come in. And as long as we follow our plan, we'll at least execute at a 20% lead to close ratio. And our goal is really closer to 25. So, um, but it's the basics and the consistency of doing it day in, day out, week after week. And so that was the tough part of coming out of those COVID years and not having to necessarily do that and then shift back to that. But I just knew that I either needed to do that and make it happen to keep finishing building this house for my family, or I needed to like completely pivot and change our lifestyle and not do that. And I didn't want to do that. So just got back into the weeds and started doing the work that I needed to do.
It reminds me like when I was coaching basketball, it's like when an athlete gets into a slump, you know, what do you return to when you get into a slump? And I think in our business, we do that too. We can all do that at some point. And what takes us back to where we were at, wherever we are, is just going back to those basic fundamentals, right?
Right.
So you're talking about seeing 75 people a week, making all your calls. If someone came into your office, right, and it was 10 a.m. and they were trying to follow Casey, what would you be doing at 10 a.m.?
Well, 10 a.m., I'd probably be finishing up some of my red time, but I'd be shifting to green time, and I'd probably have. I try not to like eat alone, really. Like, I mean, as often as I can, I try to have recurring meetings. So when I like filling up 20 face to faces is a challenging task, but I try to like do a cheat code. And so for my best partners, I just set up a once a month recurring lunch with them. If I have an office that I work with, and so once a month, or I ideally once a week, but a lot of them are more like every 2 weeks. So we'll go into a big office and present. Um, so I'm constantly trying to be out. In our community. I think you said it. You said this to me. You said you're pretty visible, and I didn't never
Yeah.
thought about it like that. But I think the more that I think about it, I try to be visible, and like the more that you're out in your community, the more people are going to see you, and there's going to be more opportunities that are going to come around your way. And so, um, I have two spots that I go to. I've got a coffee spot that I try to always go to. It's like 5 minutes from my house and 5 minutes from the office. And so when I go to that same coffee spot, every single day, they know my order. I don't even have to order it. It automatically charges my phone when I walk in. And then I'm constantly running into other agents and partners. So if I have a meeting there and I've never met this person, three people come up to me and say, "Hey, Casey, how's it going?" I've almost established like instant credibility with this person because there's people that are already like, "Hey, how you doing?" And the coffee gal knows my name, and they've got my order already ready, right? So, and same thing for lunch. I've got the same lunch spot that I always go to, and it's kind of the same situation. I keep on running into people, and um, I've really built some amazing monster accounts from just being visible out in the community and running into people at these various spots.
Sometimes we say, we hit some of these bigger accounts, there's some luck to it, but the luck never happens if you don't show up. Like it's because you've showed up. It's because you just accidentally were somewhere where maybe you were meeting someone else and something else comes up and it leads to something else. But if you're not out there, you never get that. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Yeah.
I would say everybody who's listening, you see, Casey's, has the number one branch in our company. He's also leading in volume as a loan officer. And he's, doing his fundamentals, but it's because he's out. He's visible, and I love how you've picked two places. Makes it easy, right? And like you have reoccurring lunches and reoccurring coffees. People can expect that from you and it's already on your calendar. So those are great takeaways.
We call it our break bread challenge. Like ideally, I'd have 20 recurring meetings a month with 20 partners that all send me one deal a month. If I could identify those 20 partners that send me one deal a month, that's 240 transactions. Like I don't need any more transactions than that, right? So I don't have 20 partners that are sending me one deal a month. I wish I did, but I'm working towards that. I'm constantly working towards that. So I'm constantly trying to add in people into that break bread schedule. And so and it also makes it like more fun for me. Like that brings joy to me in the business. And I think if you're not operating from a place that brings you joy in your business and doing the fun stuff, like you can get in burnout mode. And for me, like I was getting in burnout mode, which I need to shift to finding the things that, it's for me, it's like brings me joy, moves the needle in my business, and ideally adds to the bottom line. Like those are the three things that if anything does those three things for me, I'm going to put more and more time into those three things or those activities, I should say.
We were talking before the podcast and you said you've possibly landed another big whale. And that was part of your goal this year was to go after, or probably the last several years. So to be realistic and let people, the listeners hear, like how long does it take to actually, you know, substantiate that relationship and get that opportunity?
I think the best relationships I have and the biggest relationships I have all taken multiple years. Like it doesn't happen with one phone call. It could be nice if it did, but it doesn't work out. And if it does, it's almost too good to be true. It usually is too good to be true. So the best relationships that I've built have definitely come from chasing some of these people for 1, 2, 3, 4 years. I've got a big open house builder event later today that kind of happened from one kind of whale account, if you will, which led to this whale account. Um, and this builder does about 100 homes a year. But multiple agents kind of started with that, with the agent introduction. And a quick little story: I was chasing this guy over and over again. He would answer, and he knew me, and he'd be like, "Yeah, let's meet for coffee, right?" And then I'd do the follow up email, and he just wouldn't respond, right? And so I do it again. Yeah, sorry, I'm busy, and he'd blow me off constantly, right? So this lasted for multiple years, and I don't chase them to a point of annoyance, right? I think you got to be careful that you don't call them every single week and just annoy the living snots out of them, right? I think you got to be a little bit like, I'll chase them for a little bit, and then if I get rejected, I'll kind of put them on the back burner, but I'll follow up again. I don't just completely like remove them and never follow up with them, because sometimes it's a timing thing, right? Sometimes they're in a deep relationship with somebody, but you're waiting for that person to maybe mess up, and then you want to be there to be able to pick up the pieces. So this particular person, we started going to events that I knew that he would be at. And so if there was a big brokers open, or in our market, there's a real producers, and they do these big events. And so I started like partnering with the real producer group to kind of come alongside those agents. Um, and so I ran into him and I'm like, "Hey, I'm Casey. It's nice to finally meet you in person." He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And he was like, "Yeah, let's catch up." And he kind of blew me off. Following event, it happened like a week later. Somebody came up and was like, "Hey, Tom, do you know Casey?" And I was like, "Yeah, Tom knows me. He's been blowing me off for about 2 years now." And just kind of called him out a little bit. He's like, "No, I'm not." And then somebody else came up and I was like, "Do you know Casey, Tom?" And I was like, "Yep, he just blew me off again." And then he's like, "Okay, listen, I'm not gonna blow you off. Like, let's set up a meeting." And we met, and meeting really, really well. And we started working together, and it's been about a year and a half now.
Let's move a little bit into leadership. You said your number one client is your team. Talk to us about that. What does that mean?
Well, I think if I take care of my team will take care of my partners, and my partners will continue to refer us. And if my team also is like the biggest reason that we can help service our clients to the level that we serve them, right? So, um, I'm very, very proud that our team has like a lot of longevity. I think 5 out of the 6 team members have all been with me for over 10 years. So, they're really like my second family in a way. We do a lot of events together. I mean, part of it, we are a little halfway remote now, but we still find the time to meet on a quarterly basis. And um, I've just found that if like you hire people that fit your culture and like that you could see yourself being like, I always say that I wouldn't hire anybody that I wouldn't bring to my home and be around my family. If I can't bring them around my family, like that's probably not the right fit for our environment. And so, I think a lot of loan officers think that their client is their number one client, and that client is super, super important. But if you don't have a great team that can support you and have your back and run through a wall for you, then you're not going to be able to take care of the client and your partners as well as you could by yourself. So for me, that's why it's the most important.
How do you hold your team accountable without hurting the culture? Like, what are things you guys do to keep each other accountable?
I think we have direct conversations. I operate from a standpoint of assuming excellence, that they are going to operate from that standpoint. Um, I'll just ask them, do you want me to micromanage you, or do you want me to assume that you're going to do your job like at the level that we all expect? And there'll be times where, and this just recently happened, I was like, listen, we're getting a little sloppy, guys. Like, we got a few pre-approvals that have become a little bit of a mess. I mean, the deals right now are already challenging. And so I'm like, we need to spend a little bit more time on the attention to detail. So um, I'm not naturally a systems and processes person, but I have people on my team that are great systems and process people. So whenever something goes sideways in a loan, we always reevaluate it and look back and be like, what could we have done differently to insert into our SOP, our standard operating procedure for whether it's lead follow-up or contract to close or whatever the flow is. There's always got to be an SOP around it, and we've got to have systems and process to be able to like make sure that that doesn't happen again. And so I think it comes back to, again, just surrounding yourself with really, really good people. Like, I would not be doing the level of volume or production or have the amazing culture and branch if it wasn't for all the people in our branch and all the people in my team. So I think finding good people that want to grow and do life and elevate and constantly work to get better is like who I want to be around.
Still challenging out here, right?
Yeah.
Every year we keep saying next year, and we saw this year, rates started to come down, and we started a little glimpse of light there, and then it totally changed back again. So what would you say to the loan officer today who's a little bit discouraged with what's going on?
I would say don't say next year. They're like, this is the environment we're in. And I don't even, people are like, what do you think is going to happen next year? What do you think the future looks like? I don't really care. Like, I'm going to operate from where I'm at right now. I think in life and business, like, you're constantly either coming out of a challenging situation, we'll call it a storm, or you're entering into one, or you're already in one. And so as long as you operate from knowing that whenever things are going really, really well, there's likely going to be some kind of challenge that you're going to run into, right? And so I just know that that is going to happen, and I'm okay with it. And so I try to just focus on the basics that I know that if I want to have one win a day. If I accomplish my win for the day, the rest of the day, whether like good things happen or bad things happen, it doesn't really matter to me. And so, my win for the day is locking a loan. um, and I haven't had a win in like 5 days. I haven't locked a loan in a while. It's been challenging. And so, but just kind of like realizing that the market is difficult. And also really try to operate from a standpoint of gratitude. I think, we are all very, very blessed. We've got, I know that I'm at a great company. I've got great team members. I have an amazing wife and kids. And so just realizing that it's not as bad as it seems, right? And so when we control our own destiny and we have the ability to like find opportunities in a really challenging market, and I truly believe like it's easier now to open doors because of the challenges that are out there. If you make the calls and you reach out to the people, because lots of agents are struggling, lots of builders are struggling, lots of high producing teams are struggling. So like if you can reach out to them and see, where are they struggling and how can you be of a resource and help to them and find some solutions, the doors will open. So
Well, I want to thank you for being on our podcast.
of
I
course,
think we should all remember that success isn't built, chasing more and more strategies. I mean, what Casey has talked about is just the basic fundamentals, being consistent at them. And no matter how busy we get, we still have to do those basic fundamentals. And that's, keeping our relationships, keep building relationships, keep serving people, and everything will take care of itself. So thank you so much for taking time today, Casey.
Of course, Paula. I really appreciate you and love what you're doing with Elevate and everything at Guild. So
thanks for listening to Elevate Your Business, a podcast from Elevate, the internal coaching program at Guild Mortgage. Glad you could be here for today's playbook. If you want to check us out, head over to guildmortgage.com and click About Us to find Elevate